the bell. What's going on, people? It's actually Rak-Su, and today we are talking about Crawford versus Canelo. The super fight that needs to happen, the super fight that we're desperate for. And if we're honest, it would just be like a Harry Potter film coming out that we've not seen already. We already know that it's going to be epic. So, guys, please give it to us. In this video, we're going to be talking about who I think would win in the fight, what they both said about it in their respective interviews, and just any other golden nuggets or whispers within the boxing community. So let's get into it. We all want this fight to happen because it will be two absolute greats going at it. Let's dig into the detail a little bit more. Mayweather versus Pacquiao was absolutely amazing, but everyone was upset that Pacquiao got waited out. Imagine if that was the warm up to a fight like this. This is something that we do not get to see often. Two undisputed champions. Terence Crawford, undisputed across two weight divisions, the only person to do that in the four belt era alongside Usyk and Naoya Inoue as well. This is magic if they get it on. For Terence Crawford, he has been chomping at the bit. To be honest, he's as direct as a Love Islander who's in the villa when there's a twist. But we like that and we're here for it. He clearly wants all of the smoke. Now Canelo, he's talked it down a little bit. In fact, he's been known to say that he really respects Crawford's skills, but questions what his resume would be like at the higher weights, which is true, but is it also a way of him managing to pull it off a little bit? Crawford, on the other hand, he's been flat out saying things like, listen, Canelo, if you're the king, why not take on the best challenger? And Crawford does have a point. In the world of boxing, there's not too many people who could call themselves better challengers than Terence Crawford. Bud really is that guy. But as much as Bud is that guy, we also have to say that Canelo is a living legend within the sport of boxing. He will be in every Hall of Fame going. This man's record is 62 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses. 62 wins! Undisputed champion at super middle and still reigning there himself right now. The only time Canelo's lost in the past few years is obviously when he's gone up to either fight against Dimitri Bivol when it was just a bridge too far, or when he was younger he lost to Floyd Mayweather as well. But I mean, listen, it's Floyd. Floyd beat everybody that he stepped into a ring with. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, when we talk about Canelo, we're not going to talk too much about David Benavidez because that's a sore subject. But besides that, Canelo is the king at super middle. Come on. Terence Crawford, on the other hand, his record is also not too shabby. Although it's not 62 wins, it's 41-0-0. That means that Terence Crawford has stepped into a professional boxing ring on 41 occasions and has won on every single one. When he was still back at 147, before he left it after dismantling Spence, every single world championship fight he had at that weight class, he won by stoppage as well. Both of these guys are absolute all-time greats. Now, I'm not the only person who is this excited. There are articles in the Ring magazine and Sports Illustrated of people all hyping up this fight. It is the one that we all want to see. Now, let's get into Terence Crawford's pursuit. Really and truly, Crawford has been acting like one of us in the UK waiting for a new series of Top Boy. We are very vocal about it and we really want it. He has been chasing this fight, and that is something that I believe if he carries on like this, he's going to get. In an interview with Marsa, Terence Crawford recently said, great fighters test themselves no matter what the odds are. And up until this point, Terence Crawford has been true to that. He has challenged himself left, right and centre. And being a world champion at 135, undisputed at 140, undisputed at 147, and now world champion at 154, and chasing the lineal #1 at 168, listen, he's standing on business and he's doing what he talks about. Now, the next chapter's probably got to be called Canelo's Resistance, because we all know that Canelo has not really been wanting to facilitate the making of this match. In an interview with TalkSport, at one point Canelo actually said that Crawford doesn't stack up to his level. Now, me personally, I think that Canelo's just playing chess and not checkers. If you can get paid huge money by fighting on Cinco de Mayo against people like Edward Berlanga, who you are their hero and they respect you so much they're not even going to put up a good fight against you, then why would you take the risk to earn similar money, even though it might be a little bit more, but fight somebody who's genuinely a pound for pound all-time great? Canelo has paid his dues. He's had so many fights, he's done so much. There's a real argument to say that if he wants to cherry pick and have easy fights between now and the end of his career, we wouldn't be able to begrudge him of that. But Canelo, we don't want to see you do that, bro. Now, in eras gone by, this may not have been able to happen. But now we have His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh and we have Riyadh season. Now, Riyadh season have completely changed the whole landscape. The finances that are involved, bringing together Oscar De La Hoya, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, making them all work together, doing the 5x5s. We're getting fights that we never used to get before. We're getting cross-stable interaction that we never used to get before. All because of Riyadh season. As a result of that, I think that this is a fight that genuinely could happen. Whether it happens on Cinco de Mayo 2025 or not, I'm not sure. But there's a real chance for the first time that all of these fights get made when they wouldn't have beforehand. Okay, let's talk about their physical dimensions. Boxing is a physical sport at the end. What are they both saying? Now, Canelo, his style is a bit like a narcos drug lord. Very, very aggressive, but still strategic and with a habit of hitting you just when you think you got a chance to put him down. Canelo, in some of his fights, he just seems like he's invincible, walking people down and letting hooks go at will. Now, for Terence Crawford, he's more like the Breaking Bad of boxing. He's always adapting, he's always learning something new, and just when you feel like you got him sussed out and figured out, nope, he switches it up and goes somewhere you never expected. If you put the two of them together, I've got absolutely no idea what you get, because Canelo, you know what he's going to do, but can you stop it? He's too smart, he's too strong, he's got so much experience. How do you stop that? But with Crawford, you've got somebody who boxes equally well as a southpaw as he does as an orthodox fighter. Now, originally, Crawford was an orthodox fighter, but he got injured when he was a kid, still wanting to go to the gym, and so ended up training as a southpaw. And if you followed Terence Crawford's career, what you see quite often in a lot of fights against other orthodox fighters, he starts off as orthodox, and then within one round or two, if he's not completely dominating them, he switches to southpaw and then completely dominates them. Occasionally, like against Madrimov, actually he's basically southpaw for the whole fight. So it's weird. A lot of people that we think of as switch hitters, like your Jerome Boots Ennis, they switch within the rounds. They switch, maybe they'll do half a round orthodox, half a round southpaw, etc. But Terence Crawford might come out and do a whole fight in orthodox and then come out and do a whole fight in southpaw. It's absolutely phenomenal. But one of the things which really makes this fight intriguing, and I think one of the reasons that Canelo might take it, is I think people are starting to question Canelo. People are wondering, does he still have it? Is Canelo still that guy? Is he still top 3 pound for pound in the world? I don't know. If I'm being completely honest, I think the answer to that question is no. And I think that Canelo thinks people like me think this way, and he will want to put us all straight. But there's a lot at stake for Canelo. When you start to look at the cultural legacy of these two fighters, Canelo is not just a boxer in Mexico, he's a living legend. He's like El Chapo, but with much better PR. Canelo really is that guy, and his status is cemented with or without this fight. And now for Terence Crawford, that man is from a place called Omaha, and if you're outside of that area, you don't really know much about it until he came on the scene. He did for Omaha what Friday Night Lights did for Texas. So Terence Crawford is a living legend as well. The only difference is there's a lot of American fighters who have transcended the sport. For Canelo Alvarez, whilst obviously there has been Oscar De La Hoya, etc., he is the one who is the megastar of Mexican boxing, and there is no competition for that mantle right now. What's at stake for the winner of this fight? I think we've got to start talking about GOAT conversations, because Canelo being 62-2-2, yeah, I get it, he lost to Bivol, but he's way bigger. I get it, he lost to Mayweather, but Mayweather's in that GOAT conversation as well. Him becoming undisputed champion and doing it in so many weight classes, we got to have a real conversation. And Terence Crawford being 41-0-0, 2-time undisputed champion in 2 different weight classes, already world champion in 4 weight classes. If he then goes on to beat an all-time great in Canelo at 168 when he started at 135, that's a Manny Pacquiao-esque ride. I'm sorry, but we're going to have some really uncomfortable conversations about the GOAT of boxing if Terence Crawford pulls that off. Your names like Muhammad Ali, who obviously is always going to be there, not just because of what he did in the ring, but who he was outside of it as well. Roy Jones Jr., Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Alexander Usyk has got to be in that as well. Inouye's got a shout to be in that too. Chocolatito, I don't know about Chocolatito, but he did have a great career. Look, there's obviously a lot of people, and it depends on what you really like. Some people will be like Pernell Whitaker. The list goes on, right? But the point is, whoever wins this fight between Canelo and Crawford, their name must automatically skyrocket towards the top of that list. You can't have them outside of your top 5. Now, with all of this on the line, why could this fight possibly not happen? What would get in the way? Who are the alternative fighters for these two? Now, for Crawford, it's Yaron Ennis. Boots is a phenomenal fighter. Like I said beforehand, switch hitter just like Bud, and is the heir apparent to his crown at 147. However, he's not a star yet. Hasn't had the chance to become a star, and in his last couple of fights when he's been on Matchroom and had a bigger audience, he has failed to deliver the type of performances that were needed to turn him into a superstar. So really and truly, comparing Crawford versus Canelo to Crawford versus Boots, I mean, they're both great, but it's a bit like the Crown versus the Queen's Gambit. Both really, really good, but one of them's not quite the epic saga that we're looking for. Now, Canelo's alternatives, well, there's been some talk about him running it back again with GGG. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, those fights were absolutely amazing. I personally felt like Golovkin might have even nicked the first one, but who knows, we're not even going to talk about that. There's talk about them getting it back on again, and obviously there's David Benavidez as well, who's been extremely frustrated because he's not been given the Canelo fight, even though he's deserved it by working his way up and by dismantling everybody in his path. But I don't think that Canelo will take those options. I mean, I think David Benavidez would be a brilliant sporting test, but the guy's young, he's massive, it's risky, and he's not an all-time great, so if you lose, it doesn't look so good. At least if you lose to Crawford, you've lost to somebody who's one of the best fighters ever. And then the Triple G fight makes a lot of sense as well, because Triple G is really old, but listen, we're all still going to buy that fight, and we're all still going to watch it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo doesn't fight Crawford, that he fights Triple G, because that's the money fight that doesn't really cause him too much jeopardy. He probably knows he's going to win. The second fight for me was an easy Canelo victory. Now, in interviews, both Crawford and Canelo have spoken about fighting these other options, but when they talk about each other recently, they're like kids on Christmas morning. There's genuine excitement there, and you can see this is what they really want. I mean, guys, think about it. Picture Terence Crawford and Canelo in Peaky Blinders, just sat there in different pubs plotting their next moves against each other. It would be absolutely epic. Or if not that, imagine Crawford was in a grime clash with Canelo, and Canelo just hit him with the most cold 16 bars you've ever heard, and Canelo's got to come back. Or for the whole of Mexico just rooting for Canelo, and it will be like the final of El Chavo. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, look, it's just a fight that needs to happen, guys. I'm out of TV references, I'll be honest with you. So to wrap it up, Canelo versus Crawford is going to be bigger than who's just the best boxer now. It is going to be who gets rocketed up the list as the top pound for pound fighter of this generation. Because they're the only two that can fight each other, I think that is a real question that gets answered with this. You can't have Usyk fighting Inoue. Inoue's too small, Usyk's too big. These are the only two within touching distance of each other. So whoever wins can really walk away and say, yeah, listen, for my generation, I am that guy. And we want to see it. It's another sign that the godmother of boxing, or godfather of boxing, Turkey Al Sheikh, His Excellency, is changing the landscape, because he'll be able to make fantasy fights like this happen. And also, it might be in Las Vegas, and with so much of the boxing world being over in Riyadh of recent times, although we know that Turkey wants to do shows in other places, a massive night in Las Vegas will never go amiss. Do you know what I mean? It will be kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It will be nostalgic. It will be a throwback to when all of the British fighters just wanted to fight in America and fight in Las Vegas. So listen, guys, I am really hoping that this fight happens, and if it does happen, although Canelo's got the size advantage, my money is actually on Terence Crawford. Although I have to admit, I'm biased, he's my favourite fighter. I don't think he'll hurt Canelo during the fight, but I do think he will be fast enough and slick enough with his angles from the southpaw stance to be able to win it on points. And I don't think he will allow Canelo to walk him down and put him under the pressure that he has done to other people. Now, if Canelo does manage to walk Crawford down and back him into corners, then listen, it's basically game over, because we know what those left hooks are like from Canelo. They are absolutely dirty. But if I was a betting man, my money would be on Terence Crawford. What do you guys think? 1, do you think Canelo versus Crawford happens? 2, if it happens, who do you think wins? Let me know if there's any other videos you want me to make. Let me know what other context you want. Like, subscribe, share. I've been Rak-Su. Peace, love.